If you're worried about money, you're not alone. According to Bankrate, money is the #1 factor in Americans' mental health. It beats out your actual health, current events, the health of your family, relationships with your friends, family, and even your job. But I want to put you at ease because there is a chance you might be doing better than you think. In this video, we'll go over 6 money facts that will shock you. But I'm also going to share some strategies that are going to help you and make sure you stay till number 6 because it's going to shock you the most. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Maoli Vodi with Financially Present. If you're a millennial parent or just simply want to get ahead financially, please take a moment to just like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so that you don't miss out on future content. And if you're not new here, welcome back. Thank you for your support. Now, before I go into the facts, I want to be clear. I want you to be above average by all means. If you're already above average, then that's a blessing. Keep up the great work and just make sure you help somebody else by teaching them some of the tricks that you learned along the way and possibly share this video to help them out. Now, if you hear these facts and you decide you aren't above average financially, don't beat yourself up. I'm going to share some tips that you can use, so let's get into it. The first fact that scared me is from Experian, and it's the fact that the average American non-mortgage debt is $23,317. So this means credit card debt, auto loans, private loans, and even student loans. Now, this is a lot of money, and if you're borrowing less than that, then great job. Just find a way to work your way to zero non-mortgage debt because this is the most expensive type of debt. Americans are using credit cards now more than ever before because of rising costs and lack of budgeting. And it's critical that you keep this type of debt low, just as low as you can, because student loans, I know they're a factor and I know it can be hard to avoid, but you can definitely work on credit card debt first because it's the most expensive. You'll be paying between 25 to 30% on what you're borrowing. The best way to knock this out is to just budget each month. Take an honest look at how much you make and how much it costs you to live and drive as much effort as possible toward paying down credit card debt and then work on the other debt like student loans or auto loan debt. I'm not as concerned with your mortgage and auto debt, and that's mainly because it's collateral, but this is a large amount of money that's working against you if you're borrowing that much. And when you carry that amount of debt, it's gonna weigh you down and make it harder to build wealth so that you can get ahead. So the best way is to just eliminate this and tackle the most expensive debt first. So take a look at your credit card balances, make sure you're putting as much as you can with your leftover money each month and make payments to all the other credit balances just that are slightly above the minimum monthly payments. And the sooner you do this, the more leftover money you will have. And sadly, this isn't the scariest fact. The second fact that scared me is if you have an emergency fund of $1,000, you are doing better than 57% of the population. Think about that. Most people don't have enough to cover an emergency right now. Sometimes we have this idea that something won't or can't happen to us, and that's further from the truth. Accidents happen, life happens, emergencies happen. In fact, emergencies will happen, and the difference between people who are able to manage them and people who aren't is their emergency fund. And I don't even like calling it an emergency fund. I like to call it a dream fund. A dream fund allows you to think about what can be possible if you don't have to worry about 1 or 2 bills setting you over the edge each month. The emergency fund needs to be set aside and it's not part of your regular checking account. It needs to be accessible, so don't worry too much about putting it in a high yield savings account. Just having that money helps you have the opportunity to think outside of your usual costs without worrying about whether you can make ends meet when an emergency happens, because again, emergencies are inevitable. Let's think about some actual emergencies. Some of them could be related to a job loss or a medical emergency, a car repair, home repair, or costs associated with funerals. These are really, really common, and they could have already happened to you or will happen to you or have happened to the people around you. And I'm not trying to jinx anybody. This is life, and I just simply want to encourage you. If you already have an emergency fund of $1,000, you're on the right path. In fact, you're above average, but the work isn't done. And you have to take that and build on it, because depending on your field of expertise, you're gonna need more. The ideal amount to have in an emergency fund needs to be 3 to 6 months or even more of your living costs. And this is going to change depending on your work field. So depending on what you do, let's say you're in a consistent field that's in demand, like let's say healthcare or education, then you're most likely fine. But if you're in sales or seasonal work, it's gonna need to be a little bit more. And I would even encourage 6 to 12 months, because the job market continues to change. And in the event that you get laid off or your company consolidates, you need time to make a move. So whether it's getting new licenses or certification or taking classes to start a new role, that cushion of funding will really help put you at ease so that you can put your best foot forward. Your emergency or dream fund allows you to dream past the inevitable events, so it's important that you start with that. That fact is a big issue in my opinion, but the next one is even scarier. The third fact is from yahoo.com, and it's that 42% of Americans have saved less than $10,000 for retirement, with many of them relying solely on Social Security as their primary source of income. And what's worse is that 13% of them have nothing at all. First of all, to say that this is a problem is an understatement. I just mentioned how most people aren't able to take care of an emergency that costs $1,000. And I know retirement is not an emergency, but it's guaranteed. And what I mean by that is it's a guarantee that we're gonna get old, and if we aren't prepared, we're at risk for the inevitable. There's gonna be a point where we're too old to work or less likely to be hired, which effectively means we're retired, and we have to be prepared for this. Social Security will not be enough, and this means you will need to work longer or get support from elsewhere. This is something that you have to prioritize, because no one is going to come to you and say, hey, I got you when you're ready to retire. There is no guarantee that your kids will even be able to support you as well. So for you to get a jump on this, you have to increase retirement contributions at work and on your own. So my tip is for you to make sure you at least bump up your 401k contributions 1 or 2%. And I know I say it many times, but at minimum, you should do this each year. And I prefer that whenever you get an annual increase, just put that increased percentage towards your retirement. So, I mean, think about it from this perspective. You've already proved that this year you were able to do without that increase. Okay, so if you get a 3% bump on your annual pay for next year, don't use it. Just push it towards your retirement. And this is twofold, because it helps you prepare for retirement, and it also helps you reduce the likelihood of lifestyle creep. If that's not enough, it gets better because of the next fact. The fourth fact that shocked me is the financial literacy gap. Only about 34% of adults globally are considered financially literate, meaning most people struggle to understand basic financial concepts like interest, inflation, and risk diversification. So if you understand those concepts, you are above average, not just in the US, but in the entire world, okay? And this is a little scary, because I've come across people with very diverse backgrounds in work and education and in culture, and I'm still finding that some of their financial literacy or understanding has way too many gaps. And that's just in the US, but this statistic is global. According to the World Economic Forum, this lack of financial literacy is worldwide. And the area where multiple generations score the lowest is their comprehension of a risk, which is very interesting to me, because risk should be the basis of most, if not all, financial conversations, because no matter how much you know about interest, inflation, savings, and investing, if you don't understand risk properly, you can blow it all in one place. I mean, one way is for you to avoid this, and I hate to do this, but shameless plug, subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can stay engaged with this type of information. But don't only follow me, follow additional financial experts in the field so that you can keep me honest. And additionally, you can add a few more books to your rotation, or even some podcasts. Something really quick that I generally do is listen to Wall Street Breakfast by Seeking Alpha. And it's a nice dosage of stock market information and what to expect for the trading day or the week. But don't just absorb the information and sit on it. You have to take action. So now, if that's not scary enough, just wait. The next fact that scared me is the high debt to income ratio. According to an article from The Tokenist, millennials have the highest debt to income ratios among the generations, with younger millennials averaging a debt to income ratio of 37.5 and older millennials at 36.7. If you aren't familiar with the debt to income ratio, you can calculate it by dividing your total monthly debt payments by your gross monthly income. So if you make $80,000 a year and your monthly debt payments are $2,900, divide that $2,900 by $6,667, and your debt to income ratio is 43.4. So that means 43% of your money is going towards debt each month, and that's before taxes, technically. The lower your debt, the better your debt to income ratio is. A good debt to income ratio is considered 36, while 43 is a little high. And if you do the math and you realize your debt to income ratio is too high, this is where you need to make some changes. You either need to make more or borrow less. Both are ideal, but first, just start with high interest debt like I mentioned before, like your credit cards. Don't worry about your mortgage or car loan yet. Go with the most expensive debt and make payments that are slightly above the minimum monthly payment on all your other credit cards. If you want to know more detail on how you can do this, I have a video that you can watch, and it breaks down the snowball method versus the avalanche method to reduce your debt. Now, this is the moment we've all been avoiding, the sixth most shocking fact. The next stat is pretty shocking, and I'm not only talking to you, I'm talking to all the millennials out there. So if you're born between 1981 and 1996, this is for you and for me. Limited financial literacy. Only 11% of millennials demonstrate a relatively high level of financial literacy, correctly answering 75% of financial literacy questions. On the flip side, 28% exhibit very low financial literacy, answering 25 or fewer questions correctly. The interesting part about financial literacy is not necessarily about what you know, it's about what you do with what you know. So most of us know that we should drive with our seatbelts on, we know to look both ways before we cross the street. We also know we should be saving for retirement and investing, but it doesn't mean we're able to or know exactly how to. Sometimes we carry historical baggage or a scarcity mindset, and perhaps we even have people in our dynamic that we're supporting, and it makes it seem so far away to invest and save and do all of these good things. But the point is, being financially literate is one thing, but being financially present is another. Some of us know how to budget, we know we should, but there's something else in the way, and it may require us to speak to a professional, or maybe even a financial therapist. And if that's you, let me know and I can get you the help you need. So there you have it. If you look at these 6 scary facts, I'd love to know, are you above average or do you feel below average when it comes to this? And if you do, don't feel so bad. There's a lot of work that's required for everyone. And there's a lot to unpack too. So we're a work in progress. So I want you to take a moment, take a deep breath, and figure out what small things you can do to get yourself to be above average in these different categories or facts. And let me know if you have any questions, put them in the comment below. And until next time, stay present.